I want to tell you about something that's happening in Greater Manchester. Because a Greater Manchester MP who's just returned home after visiting war-torn Ukraine says the memories of what she saw will stay with her for her life. Hazel Grove's Liberal Democrat Lisa Smart was a delegation of European politicians invited to see for themselves how people are actually coping with the conflict on the 2-day trip. Well, she told BBC Radio Manchester that she thinks that the sanctions on Russia needs to be stepped up to bring the war to an end.
So the first thing we were greeted by, really, was the instructions of where the air raid bunker is. And we were woken to the sound of the air raid sirens, which is quite unsettling. I've never had that before. We saw bombed out buildings. We travelled out of Kyiv, which is a modern, thriving, beautiful European city with just the richest, most interesting history. We went out of Kyiv, we travelled out of Kyiv, we went to Chernihiv, which is the region that was occupied by Russia 3 years ago and then was recaptured by the Ukrainian army. And we saw for ourselves the state of buildings that have been bombed out, the businesses that have been bombed out, and the areas that have been under pretty constant attack for the last 3 years or so. We also went to see the site of some war crimes. We went to Yehidny, which was where villagers were rounded up and held in a basement and tortured for a period of time. We heard directly from some of those villagers. And I have never met victims of war crimes before, and what they told me and the looks in their faces will stay with me for a really long time.
How are people coping over there?
So their spirit is remarkable. It is absolutely remarkable. They know that they have their country's future, they have their people's future in their hands, and they are fighting with everything that they've got. They are resolved, but they're also really tired. They've been under constant bombardment, being woken several times a night by air raid sirens for 3 years. And I think any new parent who hasn't had a good night's sleep for a long time knows that that just makes life difficult. You put on that the fact that all the men are fighting on the front line. They are a remarkable people, and they are fighting for us. I was sure of this before I got there, but I'm even more sure of it now I've come back, that the Ukrainian people are fighting for the whole of Europe, because there is absolutely no way that Vladimir Putin will stop if he gets what he wants. And the only language he understands is strength, and they are fighting for us.
Have you come back with any more focus on what you think needs to happen next?
Yeah, I knew some of the issues that were going on, but you can't understand the depth and the full range of the issues until you've been there and heard directly. So we heard from some of the children who had been stolen. There's around 20,000 Ukrainian children. I came back even more resolved to push our government to do more. Our government has done good things, don't get me wrong. I absolutely support the efforts that the UK government has made in supporting Ukraine, but I think we can do more. And one of the things I think we can do more on is moving from freezing the Russian assets that are held in the UK and moving from freezing to seizing, because I feel really, really strongly that Russia should pay for the crimes that it's committed, for the war crimes that it's committed.
What do people there feel about the changing dynamics of the world's geopolitics, with Trump in particular, and the way he's going about trying to bring peace, as he says?
Yeah. Some of the rhetoric that's been coming out of the White House under Donald Trump has been really worrying. I think for us as the UK, we are, of course, allies of the Americans, strong allies, but I think Trump is showing himself to be a fairly unreliable ally and unreliable partner. And so for me, the support of our European neighbours as well has never been more important. And there were discussions in and around the meetings we were in about Ukraine's relationship with the European Union. Ukraine is fairly clear it wants to join the European Union and has started the accession talks.
Thank you very much. That is Hazel Grove's Liberal Democrat Lisa Smart speaking to our political reporter Kevin Fitzpatrick after she returned home from a visit to Ukraine.